Good morning, top of the shop to you. This is a little, it's a little question to people. Excuse me, whether you've got a YouTube channel or whether you just somebody who likes to watch my videos. Something I was thinking about the other day there. I think what's led to me thinking about this was the passing of Stephen Hawkins, and probably more so Jim Bowen from Bullseye. I mean, yeah, I was terribly sad to hear that Stephen Hawkins had died, you know, but he didn't have any real influence on my life as such. But Jim Bowen, who presented Bullseye, I was talking about that in the Friday Waffle. You know, Bullseye, and more in particular darts, was such a massive part in my life. I mean, it's funny, I'm saying a massive part. When I look back, it was probably maybe a year and a half, 2 years tops. But when you're only a teenager, it's a big chunk of your life, if that makes any sense. But when you're 50-year-old and you look back and go, it was only 2 years of my life. I mean, 2 years of my life now passes in the blink, and I couldn't tell you what I did last year, you know what I mean? But when you're a teenager, time definitely does seem to go slower. I know it doesn't. It's still a second's still a second, a minute's still a minute, but it does seem to go in quicker the older you get. It's probably more to do with routine. You know, you've got your same routine. You go to your bed, you get up, you have your breakfast, you go to work, you come home, you walk the dogs, you know, and it repeats. It really does repeat. So anyway, the purpose of this video was, it got me thinking about what if you could go back in time for 1 week, and it's only a week, to a particular time that's relating to video games. You know, I'm not talking about personal life. I mean, my mum and dad, I've mentioned this before, my mum and dad have both gone now, unfortunately, and I would absolutely give my right arm to be able to spend time with them again. So I'm not talking about things like that. I'm talking about purely to do with video games. So if you could have 1 week to go back to a period, it's going to be 1 week in total. It can't be 2 days there and then 2 days 10 years later. If you could have 1 week to go back to a time and place regarding video games, what would it be? Where would you go? Now, I've been giving this some thought. I had there's been a lot of like real special moments as far as video games go. You know, getting your first computer, getting your 16-bit, or in fact, getting to see a video game for the very first time, seeing Space Invaders for the very first time, or getting to own your first console, which in my case was a real shitty Binatone TV game. It was crap. Getting your first computer, getting your first 16-bit computer. So I think for me, I mean, one of the big wow moments for me was when I upgraded my Commodore 64. I didn't upgrade it, I sold it. You know, back then there was it wasn't possible, unless you were extremely rich, to keep the machine you had. If you wanted to get a new machine, most people, myself included, you had to sell the computer you had because you needed the money to put towards the new system, and that was exactly the same with me. I had a Commodore 64, I had a massive big collection of stuff, and I wanted to get an Atari ST. I was going to have to pay it up. So what I did was I sold my C64. I mean, it was ridiculous. I think I sold it for £100, and that was the computer, the disk drive, the tape, various cartridges, loads and loads of original disc games, hundreds, and I mean hundreds of tape games, lots of copied games and that as well, joysticks, a full collection. Well, I say full, it was a full at that point, collection of Zap. So it was every Zap from, what, I don't know, 1985 when it first came out. Was it April 85, May 85 I think it was, right up to when I sold it, which would be 1987. So there was like a full collection, 2 years worth of Zap magazines. Everything all got given away for £100. And I even remember, can still remember it really clearly. It was a guy who it was a pal of a friend. Just looking at that Kestrel, I think it is, just ready to dive bomb something. Yeah, it was a friend of a friend, and you know, £100 was a lot of money back in 1987. And he asked me, would I agree to him paying up, I think it was like £10 a week, something like that, which I did do. And basically the guy paid me about 20 quid, and then I never saw him again. So my dad and myself had to pay him a visit. We went to his house, and we ended up getting given the computer back again. But I couldn't believe that. I thought, you know, what an absolute wanker. He took my computer, and then he was supposed to come to the house with the money. This is before mobile phones, so you know, it wasn't a question of sending him a text or him phoning, whatever. He was supposed to come to the house with the money every week, and he gave me 20 quid, and then I never saw him again. But fortunately, I was able to go up to his house and had a stern conversation with his mum. And I think, if I remember rightly, I think she let me go up to his bedroom and basically take everything that belonged to me, so I managed to get everything back again. And then I sold it for 100 quid to somebody else, so yeah. So I suppose I made 20 quid, because I didn't give him the money back that he'd paid me, but yeah. And then I got my Atari ST. Now, I mean, going from a C64 to a 16-bit computer was pretty special, because obviously the graphics, excuse me, was just, the difference in graphics was incredible. Here was a machine that had, I can't remember how many colours Atari ST had, but it was way more than the Commodore 64. The resolution was infinitely better. It was just like, wow. But, and here's the reason why that probably isn't the moment I'm going to choose, because the Atari ST sound was shit. Compared to the Commodore 64, it was shit. Yeah, I think later on, you know, they got to grips with the sound. I think that shared the same sound as the Amstrad and Xerox Spectrum 128. Now, I shouldn't be making statements like that, because I frequently get shot down by people for basically talking rubbish. I'll tell you what I think something is, and in many cases I'm wrong. I don't claim to know everything. If you want facts, go to Wikipedia. Yeah, but I don't claim to know everything. I just talk about what I remember. It's basically my take on things. So when I come out with something, a fact, it's what I think is the case. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be right. But yeah, the sound chip on the Atari ST, I think it shared the same sound chip as the Spectrum 128 and the Amstrad. Compared to the SID chip, it was just naff. So as much as it was great getting these amazing looking games, the sound was a backstep, and I always remember being really quite disappointed with that. And that's why, that was the reason why I quickly upgraded to the Commodore Amiga. I mean, I probably only had my Atari ST for a year, maybe not even as much as a year, can't remember exactly. But I quickly got upgraded to the Amiga, and the sound in the Amiga, as we all know, is awesome. So that's the reason why going from 8-bit to 16-bit isn't my favourite time. I think my favourite time has to be when I got my first Commodore 64. Oops, my camera, or my phone has just moved. You can still see me anyway. Yeah, the year would be, you know, I can never remember exactly when it was. I think it was towards the end of 1983 when I first got my Commodore 64. My mum and dad had bought me a Texas TI 9948, which wasn't the greatest. The problem with the computer, I don't think the computer was shit so much, it was the fact that there was just no software available. And I mean, there was no software available, at least I couldn't find any. So it's like one of these comedy sketches, the phone's moving up and down, I've got it balanced against the sort of dashboard thing. Doesn't matter, it's about being able to hear. I might even get rid of the image and just put some game overlays or something on it. Where I completely forgot my train of thought. Aye, so anyway, yeah, I'd got this text, but it wasn't the greatest. So when I got a part-time job, I decided I was going to save up and buy a Commodore 64. I looked at the Spectrum, but because I was basically going to be paying for it myself, I thought, nah, I want the Commodore 64. There was a guy that I worked with, I worked part-time after school, and there was this guy that I worked with who had a Commodore 64, and he told me that, you know, that was the one I needed to go for. So that was enough to convince me. So I took out it wasn't a bank loan, it was basically credit. I paid, I think it was like £12 a month, something like that, on this Commodore 64. And yeah, I got the computer home, and you know, I only had a couple of games for it. And yeah, initially the games I had weren't the greatest, but within, you know, a few weeks I'd started to buy more games, and then I got made aware through this guy I was talking about that you could get pirate games, you could copy games. And so I started to buy games, and I mean, one of my favourite games, the early games, was in the obviously Commodore 64. It was International Soccer on it was on cartridge. And I remember reading the review, I think it was Computer and Video Games, and I went up and bought the game. I think I got it at John Menzies, I can't remember exactly, and it was like, I'm sure it was $9.99, which for an early game was quite a lot of money, but it was on cartridge. But goodness me, I played that game. I don't know how many hours I put into that game over the years. Must have been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. But then before long, I started to, you know, get given games. Stuff like Motor Mania, Forbidden Forest, you know, Fort Apocalypse, all the sort of early American software. And you know what, it was a magical time to be able to load up a computer game and just play these games on your own computer, in your own house, in your bedroom. I mean, before that, I didn't have an Atari 2600, so, you know, my video game collection was basically these little handheld things, which, let's be honest, were pretty naff. You know, you got bored of them pretty damn quick. So, being able to witness, you know, arcade games at Blackpool and whatnot, and then suddenly I had them in my own house. I mean, it's hard to explain for somebody that wasn't around at the time when this whole thing kicked off. You know, people now, video games have always been there. My daughter, video games have always been there. They don't know what it's like to not have a computer or an iPad, whatever. But back in the early 80s, there was no such, that didn't exist. It was a completely new thing. And you know, it was absolutely incredible. And you know, it's hard to put into words just how magical this was. Yeah, it's hard to put into words just how magical it was, you know. If you could bottle up the excitement of a 17-year-old back in 1983 and sell it, you would make a fortune. I knew then that this was something that was going to be special. I knew then it was something I'd never seen before. Being able to interact with the TV. I mean, prior to video games, it was all, TV was just one way. You just looked at it, you didn't interact. And then here we were able to control images on a screen. You had high scores, you had sound. It was just amazing. It really was. And I would absolutely love to be able to go back for a week and relive that first week when I got my Commodore 64. It was just a special time. And subsequent upgrades, going from, like, you know, 8-bit to 16-bit, and then from 16-bit to PC, you know, the Amiga, the PlayStation, you know, whatever it was, yeah, they were all special jumps. But every subsequent generation jump that I make, the excitement and, you know, the buzz that you get gets less and less and less and less, to the point now when I get like when I got my PS4, I was really like, Oh yeah, that's really nice. There was nothing, because it had already been invented. All you're doing is reinventing the wheel. But when I first got my Commodore 64, I had gone from not having a wheel, and here was my wheel. It was just amazing. So yeah, I'm going to go for a week in 1983 when I was about 17 years old. I would love to go back in time, back to my bedroom. Mum and Dad were still here, you know, still at school, no pressures, no responsibilities, nothing. Just the sheer unadulterated excitement of getting my first computer. So yeah, that is my special moment, guys. I would love to hear what your special moment would be. Like I says, you can go back for a week and relive one particular time, but it's got to be relating to video games. So if you've got a YouTube channel and you want to do a VR response, wonderful. If you don't worry, please just put your comments below, let me know what time you would like to go back in. That's it, guys. Okay, as usual, thank you very, very much for watching.